In this video, we're going to talk about humanism. These ideas, particularly those of Carl Rogers, have been extremely influential and are the underpinning of most kinds of therapies, even if their approach is very different. So keep in mind, we're talking causes, assessment, prevention, and treatment. We're going to be focusing on each of these, throughout our video. Key humanistic principles include this growth-oriented focus. What humans do, according to people like Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, is that they are growth-oriented under the worst of conditions, like this tree on the rock, and that they are attempting to meet their potential. We are also, even under the worst kinds of conditions, attempting to meet our potential, our self-concept. But like this tree, we get kind of twisted as we are under less than ideal circumstances. There's also a focus on phenomenology. What is the viewpoint of this particular experience? What does this person experience, rather than what is the facts? And that means that we're going to be focusing a lot on empathy, focusing a lot on understanding that person's point of view. It also means that we are going, as we're doing assessments, they're going to be qualitative from that person's perspective, rather than observing them, which is a much more behavioral point of view. What is your experience? And the Q sort, for example, will ask people to sort cards with various adjectives on it to describe their experience of themselves, both from their ideal point of view and how they perceive themselves now. This is Maslow, and probably many of you have seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what he says is that many of us are focused more on the bottom part of this pyramid, that we are perhaps more interested in belonging than on other parts of experience. What he says is that self-actualizing people, and think of this as a process rather than an endpoint, are people who are actually attempting to be who they are, not who they believe other people think they should be, but who they are in reality. And that's, so we are focusing here. Now, most of us are operating at various points on the pyramid. I am, right now as I am taping, or today as I'm taping, I'm shortly going to have lunch. My physiological needs are calling me. I was just walking my dogs, and I was concerned about the ice, and so safety needs pull in. We are in various places on this pyramid, but the proportion of time that we are attempting to meet those individual, self-concept is an important piece. Carl Rogers says that most of us are discrepant from our ideal self. So here is the real self is who we are. The ideal self is who we believe, who we would like to be. And in an ideal world, there's going to be a fair amount of overlap between this real and ideal, so that there's enough discrepancy to motivate us to meet our goals, but enough overlap that we feel like there is some success in getting there. Now the question is, how is it that we are not, not in this ideal place all the time? And what Rogers says is that most of us experience conditional positive regard fairly frequently. And I'll be posting a video of a child talking to his mom, saying, I don't like you when you don't give me a cookie. Most of us experience that sort of conditional positive regard where we are liked only under certain circumstances. What Carl Rogers says we need is an experience of unconditional positive regard, where we are accepted and valued, respected, regardless of what we do, but for who we are. It doesn't mean that we like their behavior, and we can be pretty clear. I don't like what you did, but I like who you are regardless. In addition, so he says 3 things are necessary for growth. Unconditional positive regard, that the person be real with us. If we see a mask, if we see them pretending, then that is going to be problematic. And also accurate empathy. Can they be real and hear us for who we are? From the humanistic model, there is a growth orientation, and the belief is that the person is the best guide for for where they are. So the therapist's goal is to listen and to be real with them. The client's goal is to take this journey and to be their own guide, maybe with the therapist accompanying them. So let's think about evaluation. There are a lot of really positive things about this model. In fact, most therapies have at least these underlying principles, particularly genuineness, accurate empathy, and unconditional positive regard. The problem is that this is not as research-oriented a model as, for example, the behavioral model and the cognitive model. That's sort of ironic because Carl Rogers was one of the first people who did research into therapy. So what should you do now? First, reflect some and think about who has treated you in a genuine manner, who has responded to you with unconditional positive regard and empathy. And what did they do? How did you feel when this happened? And then, here's our second one. Consider where you are on Maslow's hierarchy. What kinds of motives seem to particularly drive your behavior? And what does this mean in terms of who you are and where you're going? Next, we're going to be talking about the sociocultural model. Take care.